I got you. Let it rap real quick. Look.
City eyes, it's time to vote God. My God, a real nigga, cause he wasn't no flaw. Posted on the corner like a watchdog. Family secure, got that shot in the closet by the mob ball. Fuck what they heard, tell them it's all true. Be cautious, that foundation falls to you fall through. They gon' fall. Look, I keep this shit 50 times soon. Ain't no more heart in this game, I'm John Q. Colder than the avalanche, way above average. Beers taste sweet, told him make me an apple tree. Left us in the valley full of bones, this where hope found. Java, come on, man. Dark sands get broke down. Riding through Evans to a mall quad. Telling me how the crackers turn his childhood to a ghost town. Poker stop, nigga, I lay that game down. I feel his pain, cause nothing is the same now. Let my light shine like heaven through a rain cloud. Glock have a fit like my child, so tangent. Try to warn them niggas, we bear arms like tarantulas. Them other niggas rap, I make anthems. I really see prophets under this banner. Make my enemies bow down on camera. Told my design I wanted black and white like a panda. I'm better than that nigga that sunk dirty to handle. Look, I move like a Brazilian, precious cargo, spirit Asian, but I got a new semi-auto. Wave that bitch around like where's Wardo. Sleep if they won't, I cut through they Z's like I'm Zorro. Pay me for his name, so I gotta keep that steel clutch. Trust me, I'm not what you think. I squeeze till it click like Dorothy when the heels touch. The world got me dumb, I don't feel much. Ride with Yaradon, just left the state bridge. Looking for a bitch better than Baby's kid. Remember, I dropped Quiet Storm, I've been gone ever since. Still in the field, fuck them niggas on the fence,
Yeah, you know what it is. 140 for the rebel, busy man shit, nigga. They take their head over, nigga.
Red where Eve did to Adam, I just pray my love don't lie to me. Swing the iron like Samson, I can't let no hoe to lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, all they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying, this shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Suckle up and stay alert. Another cop just stretch the nigga. He ain't demon, it's an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. You took that oath in blood, then you know I'm gonna get active with you. From the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers claim they spin, I ain't listening. Is in fact if revenge was a woman, now I scope that bitch like Jake. So Tower War, we gonna run the summer. It's gonna be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, me cookies with the oil. I'ma get them crackers, hell should've never kidnapped my family. I can't do baby, bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young baby. How you real trigger know them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? What he saying something, I ain't hear. This shit like it ain't all who got this gun, it's all who gon' up that pipe first. I turn a bad situation to a game change. Bring soldiers from the dead, just raised up the chain. Six shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand that feeds you, you'll never get that hand back. Bitch about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody won't be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. A certified woman's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, out with that hollow sign, yeah, this the real McCoy. Feel like Gullah Jake when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still up on my bread, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get it, boy, lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his game, pop out on them demons like I'm Hellboy.
Let me see.
You got your water right there too.
Yeah. Don't need it.
I don't think we need it.
Should look better though.
Oh, shit.
But if we got that,
Blinded me.
yeah.
Now we good though. I mean, if you want it on, you can have it on.
No, that's good. That's dope.
Yeah, you can keep it on. I'm gonna put. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put this microphone right here. That's perfect. Work out for me.
It
Yeah.
didn't annoy you.
No, that's good. It's good.
The brother, he's still doing his candles and shit. So.
Okay. Yeah. For sure. That's good.
Where we gonna put that shit up in?
Just, I mean, right there. It ain't even gotta be on camera. Just, you know what I mean? Get them lit.
I'd rather put it on here though.
That's cool too. Yeah.
Because
Just when he come around here, when he done.
Okay, just like
just let him know.
That shit, it's not metal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when he come around here, just let him know. You know what I mean? Just let him know. Throw it up there. Be straight. Hey, Shalom, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, Shalom, Israel. Yahweh Shemel Shabbat Thumb to the brothers. Yahweh Shemal Thumb Shemel Shah to the sisters. I'm Priest Officer Parak. To my right is Priest Officer Yahweh Sop. We holding down the Feast of Dedication for the Most High in 2024 AD. All right, go ahead and clap it up for the Most High. All right, this is a tradition that was established just about 2,000 years ago, just over 2,000 years ago. All right, you can move that fan if you need to, or whatever the case. Yeah, you can have them. They're at your disposal. All right, this is a tradition that has been in existence for the last 2,000 and about 100 years, so 2,100 years. All right, this is a very special day. The Most High has ordained this day to not be a high holy day, but to be a day that we commemorate every year. And so tonight, what we're going to focus on, right? We're going to focus on understanding what this high holy day is about. Here's what's special about this in the year 2024. For whatever reason, the Most High made this day align with the white man's Christmas, right? Or Saturnalia, as we understand it, right? If y'all ever been in these classes, y'all understand we've taught what Christmas is truly about, and it falls on December 25th. Well, for some reason, and we're going to talk about it more tonight in depth, the Most High has made it evident that he wanted this day, the Feast of Dedication, to fall on the same night as the so-called white man's Christmas. All right. We're going to understand all of those things tonight. We're going to get into it and really understand what the Feast of Dedication is about. One thing that I always try to focus on, right, is making sure that whatever feast days and high holy days that we celebrate and commemorate together, we understand why we do it. I don't ever want this to end up being like the Christian church where you sit and you realize, like, you sit and celebrate a day like Christmas and you like, damn, why do I put the gifts under the tree? Why do I put a tree in my house, put the gifts under the tree, and wait until the 25th of December to pass the gifts out? You don't understand them traditions because your Christian pastor is not breaking those things down to you, right? I don't want that in the truth. You understand? I want to make sure that all of the high holy days and the commemorations that we celebrate in here, everybody understands exactly why we do what we do. All right? And that also takes away some of the mysticism and the weirdness away from people. Look at us. I got this garment on with my mitri. He got this garment on with his mitri. And a lot of people from the outside looking in like, why they dressed like that? But this type of class is designed to make y'all understand why we do what we do. Okay? So that's what we're going to focus on today. Now, everybody going to be able to eat. Y'all can start eating right now. Because tonight's class will be, I ain't going to make it too lengthy, but it will be, it's a history class. We're going to understand where the Feast of Dedication comes from. We're going to understand it. And I want everybody to be able to walk away from this building tonight with a full stomach and full of knowledge. All right. So let's start off with the book of First Maccabees, right? And we'll just start off with the first chapter. We're gonna get everything that encompasses the Feast of Dedication. All right. So we're gonna start from the beginning, and we'll get the history and everything. All right. So let's get First Maccabees 1 and start at the first verse.
The book of Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after the Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians.
So already the first verse of the first book of Maccabees is taking us into a place to where now we have to totally understand what the history is behind this. This is not, see, this is another thing that people have to understand about the Bible. The Bible is a history book. The Bible is not just like a storybook where you just open it up and you read and you like, damn, this is cool stuff that we can recite to people for decades and decades. No, the Bible is a history book with records in it. This is a record of Alexander from the perspective of the Israelites. Think about the history book that you read. The history books that you read normally are from the perspective of the person that's writing it, right? Well, this is the history of Alexander the Great, which most of us know from even just being in middle school up into high school. We learn about Alexander the Great, but we learn about it from a certain perspective, from the perspective of the Romans, right? Well, this is Alexander the Great, but from the perspective of the Israelites. That's what we want to start off with, and we want to understand, right? Let's keep reading.
In Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
And he was the first king, or you could call him an emperor, a king, a ruler over Greece. Philip II was his father. Quick, just a little fun fact about that. Philip II was the first one to get white people out them caves. You understand? I want y'all to understand that at the time that Alexander the Great came out and conquered Greece, it's a lot of history that goes into it. But Philip II was the one, his father was the one that brought the people that we call what? Caucasians, cave dwellers. Right. He brought them out the caves and said, hey, we can be warriors. Let's go conquer the earth. That was his father. Okay. Just understand who you're dealing with. I'm not going to spend too much time breaking that down, but just understand this is the type of guy that you're dealing with, right? So Alexander, which was the son of Philip II, he went and he decided that he was going to conquer damn near the earth. And he went, the Persians and the Medes was like his biggest enemy. Why? Because they was the ones that had most of the earth conquered at that time, right? Keep reading. Let's give verse 2.
And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him.
And that's why they call him Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great is somebody that he was a mighty man. He went and he conquered damn near the entire free world. You understand? At that time, especially at this time, 2,000 years ago, you had really just the eastern hemisphere of this world. That's where people were located at, right? And he conquered all of that damn near. This was a mighty man. And so the book of Maccabees is recording all of this information for the history, because what we're about to read tonight is extremely important for us to be able to understand how this all started. Alexander was what? An Edomite, the white man, according to the Bible, right? He came, his father pulled the white people that we understand as Caucasians today out of them caves, say, hey, let's go be warriors, and we're going to dominate the earth. Alexander carried that out, and he was good at it. That's why we read about him in our history books, right? Keep reading.
Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up, Verse 4, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries into him.
Right, now let's go real quick to Daniel the 8th chapter, because here's something that I want y'all to take away from tonight's class, is that what we're about to read is history, but on top of that, the Most High has given the prophecies to the prophets of old. Like I said, in the book of Daniel, they're going to explain what was to come about 600 years later. All right, so we're going to read this real quick. Daniel, the 8th chapter and the 2nd verse.
Daniel, the book of Daniel, chapter 8, verse 7. And I saw him come close into the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram.
Is that Daniel 8 and 2?
Slacky, not la. It's 8 and it was 8 and 7.
Okay, 8 and 2. Daniel 8 and 2.
Daniel chapter 8, verse 2. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Uli.
So now we're about to read about a prophecy that was given to the prophet Daniel, which everybody goes into the Bible and they want to quote the Bible, and they'll go to the book of Daniel to try to quote the Bible. But the book of Daniel gives a good insight as to what was going to happen to the children of Israel, according to the Most High. And so we're about to read about that right now. Let's read let's start at verse 4.
Verse 4, I saw the ram pushing westward.
Let's read verse 3, Salaki. Let's get all the content.
Verse 3, then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last.
Now, I'm not going to get too spooky with y'all, but y'all got to understand something about the way that the Most High delivers visions to his servants and the prophets. This is a dream. You understand that, right? The same way that the Most High delivered dreams to Moses. He delivered dreams to Joseph. He delivered dreams to his prophets. Like even what we read in the book of Revelation was a dream that the Most High was giving to John, the Revelator, right? So, but sometimes these dreams don't make sense. Sometimes you lay down and you go to sleep and you have a dream, and what we just read was a description of a dream. There was a ram that had a horn, 2 horns, right? But the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other. What's the significance of that? The Most High puts those types of things in his prophets' visions because there's a reason. And y'all got to understand that there's nothing that happens as far as it goes with the Most High. There's nothing that happens without a reason. So the Most High put this as a vision to the prophet Daniel to break something down to him. He don't know it yet, but we about to get the understanding, right? Let's keep reading. Give me verse 5.
Verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran into him in the fury of his power.
So now there's a goat with the 2 horns, and then there's a ram that came that didn't even touch the ground. It was running so fast. This is what y'all got to understand. The Most High puts these types of visions in his prophet's eyes so that way he can break it down. You understand? So these things mean something, right? The dreams that he gave to his prophets actually mean something, right? Daniel lived in the Persian Empire, okay? Like when he became, most people understand Daniel, the lion's den, right? He went into that lion's den. Why? Because he was in captivity under the Persians. They punished him by putting him in that lion's den, right? Well, the ram with those 2 horns that we was talking about, one being higher than the other, that Persian Empire was higher than the Medes. Remember, when you go into the book of Daniel, when you go into the book of Jeremiah, the Persians and the Medes were ruling together, but the Persians had more power than the Medes. That's what that was talking about, right? And all of this is going to be extremely important when we talk about Alexander the Great, right? So read verse 6 for me.
Verse 6. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran into him in the fury of his power.
Go ahead.
And I saw him come close into the ram, and he was moved with the choler against him, and smote the ram, and break his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him.
So now, this is talking about the fact that this ram that had exceeding great power, which is the Persians and the Medes, there was somebody else that came behind them and was able to take them out of power. Somebody that was stronger than them. And that's important for this type of prophecy that we're about to read about, because Alexander the Great came directly behind the Persians and the Medes. Why is this so important? Why am I starting out the class understanding this? Because Alexander the Great is the reason why we have the Feast of Dedication. And I'm not saying that to give like him credit, but I want y'all to understand that sparked what caused everything we about to read about for the next hour and a half. Alexander the Great is this prophecy. He came directly behind the Persians and the Medes. He overthrew them, right? He overthrew them. He went into power, and he tried to overthrow Jerusalem and overthrow the Jews. We're gonna read about all that in just a second. Give me Daniel 8 and 17. Let's drop down to the 17th verse.
Daniel chapter 8, verse 17. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Verse 18. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground. But he touched me and set me upright and said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. For at the time appointed, the end shall be.
So this is the Most High, the angel of the Most High speaking to Daniel. Daniel getting these visions, he getting these dreams, and he trying to understand what the hell is this about? Why am I getting these visions and these dreams? The Most High spoke to him and said, look, I'm going to break it down for you. And so now he's about to break down exactly what I just said, right? About Persia and the Medes, right? Give me verse 20.
Verse 20. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
That's the king. Remember, the higher horn and the lower horn. That higher horn was Persia because they have more power than the Medes, right? Keep reading.
And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
Ooh, that first king. The Most High doesn't put anything in the Bible without actually making sense out of it. And there's a reason why this is in the Bible. You understand? I understand for most people, especially a lot of times, you read the Bible and it's just, it's like reading a storybook for most people. But there's a reason why the Most High has put these things in the Bible. Well, that first king is Alexander the Great. What we're about to talk about tonight is going to be heavily based off of Alexander the Great's influence on the state of Jerusalem and how we had to gain our temple back and our laws back and what we had to do to fight. Like most people today are fighting against serving the Most High, right? Mm-hmm. In this time period that we're about to read about, we had to fight to serve God. We had to fight to keep the law. Everybody's so ready to eat pork. Everybody's so ready to say, I don't care about circumcision because of what they believe Paul said, and because of what they believe the Bible is saying. Everybody's so ready to leave the laws of the Most High. But in this time period that we're reading about, everybody was willing to die to serve the Most High God.
Right.
That's how serious they was.
Right.
And we're going to read about it. That's why I'm letting y'all eat right now, because listen, tonight is going to be a lengthy class, but I want y'all to understand why we're here tonight, why we got these candles burning tonight, why we're here in unison serving the Most High. So now, let's go to First Maccabees again, right? That prophecy about Alexander the Great is important. How do I know it's important? Because it's in the book of Daniel. It's in the Bible. The Most High decided that it was important for us to understand that there was going to be a king or an emperor or a ruler to come that was going to be a force to be reckoned with. Well, that came to pass in the book of First Maccabees. We're about to read about it. Let's read First Maccabees, the first chapter, and let's start at verse 4.
The book of Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 4. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him.
So now this king that we're talking about, Alexander the Great, the son of Philip II, right, which we talked about in the beginning of this class, he became somebody that was so mighty that he ruled over countries, meaning he had his foot in everything. He had his hand in everything. And on top of that, on top of that, kings were tributes or tributaries unto him, meaning everybody had to pay taxes to him. So if anybody did anything, as a king or a ruler over your nation, you had to pay taxes to this guy. Alexander the Great was that important of a man, that strong and mighty of a man, that everybody had to pay taxes and tributaries to him, right? Let's keep reading.
Mm-hmm. In verse 5, and after these things he fell sick.
So now that's a quick history lesson, right? Because his reign was for quite some time, but after a while he became sick, and he couldn't run his rulership anymore, right? Let's keep reading.
And perceived that he should die.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 6, wherefore he called his servants, such as was honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, mm-hmm. and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
So now he parted his kingdom amongst people that he believed was his friends, people that he believed, like he came up with these brothers. And I'm saying brothers like they're brothers to him. These are, of course, Edomites. They're not our brothers, but they was brothers to him, right? And so one thing you got to understand is that as he was dying, he decided he was going to divvy up his rulership amongst the people that he considered brothers to him. So now you have 5 different rulers that became rulers over the kingdom that Alexander had established, right? You have Ptolemy, you have Seleucus, you have Cassander, you have Antigonus, and you have Lysimachus. All right. Now, the Ptolemaic, remember we was talking about Ptolemy? The Ptolemaic Empire controlled Egypt, but kept Greek culture. Why is it that you see the people in Egypt looking like white people? Because of Ptolemy. Because of Alexander the Great. The people that you see in Egypt right now, they not black like you would think a Hamite should look. They are white people because they stem from this rulership. Just a little bit of history, right? Let's read, drop down to verse 41. So just to give you an understanding, this man is the one that decided he was going to divide up his friends to rule over Jerusalem, because they came in and they conquered Jerusalem, and he divided up these different men to rule over the places that he had conquered, right? Let's get verse 41.
Verse 41, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
So now remember, we was talking about Ptolemy, right? He was one that he was ruler over Egypt. That's why Egypt became what it was, right? at this time. But who was left over Jerusalem and the children of Israel was a man named Antiochus. All right. His name was Antiochus Epiphanes, which is, it literally means God manifest, which he tried to make himself to be like the Most High, which is what Isaiah the 14th chapter talks about, right? And so, anyway, Antiochus was a king under the Seleucid Empire. And it was about 10-year reign that he had, right? From 174 AD, BC to 165 BC. And he had that type of ideology, like if these people, right, the Jews, was going to serve the Most High, it would have to mean that they couldn't serve another God, because what's our first commandment? Our first commandment is, thou shalt have no other gods beside me. Well, Antiochus Epiphanes wanted to be the Most High. He wanted to be a God unto the people that he was over. And so because that's the case, he had to get rid of our God. He had to tell us, you can't serve that God anymore because now I'm your God, which is a lot of what America has done, right? They've taken after this man, right? But let's keep reading, right? Read verse 42 again, Bible Shah.
Verse 42, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed, according to the commandment of the king.
So Antiochus said, y'all got to stop serving the God that you serve, because the God that you serve is interfering with me being a dictator and a ruler over you, right? Give me verse 43.
Verse 43, yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
And because we was under that rulership, we consented to the religion. We was like, okay, you want us to stop serving the Most High? Well, hey, we'll stop serving the Most High. Now we'll follow you, right? Keep reading.
And sacrifice unto idols.
And we had to sacrifice unto idols, which once again, that's our first commandment, right? Thou shalt have no other gods before me, right? Keep reading.
And profane the Sabbath.
And we had to profane the Sabbath, right? Keep reading. Go ahead. You have something to say?
No, so like that.
Good.
So
right? And we had to profane the Sabbath, which is, of course, if you get a nation of people to stop serving their God, now there's a void, right? And that void means that they have somebody else to serve. And this is a perfect way to overcome a people, to overtake a people, right? Keep reading.
For the king had sent letters by messengers into Jerusalem in the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
And even in this history book that we read and write in the book of First Maccabees, they calling it what? Strange laws. Because these laws is not the laws of the Most High. These are laws that the other nations are trying to impose upon us. Think about today in America. Like, equate this to your life right now in America and understand that what we're reading about was 2,000 plus years ago, but we're reading about it right now and experiencing the same thing in America. They're trying to impose these same strange laws on us. You understand?
Right.
Let's keep reading.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings in the temple.
And they forbade the burnt offerings and the drink offerings and the sacrifice in the temple. What was that? What did that mean to us as Israelites? We that was a part of our culture. We had to sacrifice to the Most High. That was a part of our law. Free will offerings was a part of our law. The things that we did in our temple was holy unto us. They took it away from us. Why? Because they wanted to strip us of our culture. Now think about us in America right now. Right now in America, he's weird looking. You understand? I'm weird looking. Why?
Right.
I got a Mitri on my head, but this is my culture.
Right.
But American culture is put a baseball cap on.
Put pajamas on.
Put
Christmas.
Yeah, put pajamas on for Christmas. Hey, that's another heavy point. Today is December 25th. Everybody outside of these walls is celebrating Christmas right now. They are opening, but they open presents this morning. By about now, they're extremely drunk and fighting each other. You understand? Because that's what America has pushed on our people. So now your auntie and your uncle are about chasing each other around the house with a damn butcher knife because they've drunk out of their minds because of the stress of Christmas. But here we are. You understand? The kids is in the back having a good time eating. Everybody out here eating. We having a good time, and we learning about the word of the Most High and celebrating the Feast of Dedication, the same feast that Jesus Christ himself kept. That's what we doing. But we weird for that. Well, you want to know why we weird for that, according to everybody else? Because the Greeks and the Romans came and said, you got to stop serving your God. Stop coming to your temple and sacrificing unto your God. Now you got to sacrifice unto the gods of the Greeks. Now you got to follow Zeus and Hercules and Hades, and you got to follow all of these different gods because we can't have you have a strong God and a strong sense of yourself and your culture. But this right here is a strong sense of ourself and our culture. We wearing these mitris and we'll go to the QT across the street and we'll go to the McDonald's and we'll go wherever. And we don't feel like, oh, we got to take this. We about to go in public, man. Take this off. We don't feel like that, do we?
No.
Why? Because we have a strong sense of who we are and our culture. So we don't think this is weird. America taught you that what we believe is weird. Well, we're reading about it 2,000 years ago.
Right.
The Greeks taught the Israelites that they were weird for sacrificing to their God, the God that delivered them out of Egypt, the God that delivered them out of the hands of the Syrians, the God that delivered them out of all of their troubles. You weird for serving that God. But you should serve the God that didn't do nothing for you, some idol that some white man has created. You should serve Caesar Borgia. Pick up that sign, right next to you. It's right next to you. Pick up that sign. You should serve that. That's what you should serve. The white man has made you to believe that that's the God that you should serve. And he's never done nothing for you. Nothing. What was that God when you was in slavery? I could tell you what my God was when we was in slavery. I could tell you exactly where he was. And I could tell you what he was thinking. I could tell you what he was telling us to do. I could tell you everything about my God when we was in slavery, when we was being punished, and we was being subservient under this devil. That God? Oh, he was right along with him. But let's keep reading, right? Let's go. Let's keep reading down. Let's go to verse 48.
And that they should profane the Sabbaths in the festival days.
Verse 48.
Verse 48. Mm-hmm. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised.
And what is that? That's part of our law. Our law is that the male children of ours, we should have circumcised on the 8th day, right? But there's like, no, don't do that. Why? Because that circumcision is a part of the covenant that we made with the Most High, right? Keep reading.
And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness.
Oh, so like you read verse 47 real quick.
Verse 47. Mm-hmm. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, mm-hmm. and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
Now we read in the book of Leviticus, the 11th chapter, that swine's flesh is unlawful for us to consume, and it's an unclean beast. But these people hated the Most High so much, they said they're going to take, because of course, when the sacrifices that we had to sacrifice unto the Most High was clean beasts, so like lambs, bullocks, turtle doves, things like that, right? Well, they decided they're going to take the most unclean beast that the Most High said we should not be around. We can't even touch their dead carcasses. That's according to Leviticus, the 11th chapter. We can't even touch their dead bodies. But they're going to take those animals and sacrifice them on our altars. That's how they thought about our God, the God that we choose to serve. Why? Once again, it's to take us further and further and further away from our culture. That's their point. They doing it today. Y'all got to make this correlation from what we're reading about from 2,000 years ago and and think about how they're doing it to us today. Let's keep reading. Let's get verse 49.
Verse 49, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
And to the end, meaning what we want to accomplish from this is that they forget the law and that they change the ordinances. Now, how many Black and Hispanic and Native American people right now are celebrating the Feast of Dedication at the appointed time? Let's just say in Arizona, for instance. I can count damn near on my two hands, right? But how many people in Arizona right now are celebrating Christmas, which is the feast day or the holiday of our oppressor right now? In Arizona alone, thousands. And the reason why we have to understand the difference between the two is because what we're reading is what's happening to us today. What happened to us, that's why the scriptures tell us that there's no new thing under the sun. The things that we're reading about right now that happened to us thousands of years ago are happening to us right now again. To the end that we forget the law and that we change the ordinances. Now, we don't believe in keeping the Feast of Dedication. Now, we believe in keeping Christmas.
Right.
Which Christmas is literally the absolute worst holiday that you could try to celebrate. And we have a whole breakdown on it because it is the most pagan holiday that you could celebrate according to the Bible. There's an entire chapter in the Bible, Jeremiah the 10th chapter, that's dedicated to telling you why you should not celebrate Christmas. In specific. But our people celebrate that holiday as if it's a religion unto them. As if it's their discipline to do that. When in our reality, the Most High, He gave us holidays to celebrate, holy days, right? This is one of them. You understand?
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. This is the proper way to conquer a people. You take away their culture and you give them another culture. That's what you do, and that's how you conquer a people. And that's what our oppressor has been able to successfully do to us. They have taken away our culture. They said, no more Feast of Dedication. No more Passover. No more Feast of Purim. No more Feast of First Fruits. You forget about that. You're not even a Jew. Matter of fact, we the Jews now. That's what they said. They the Jews now.
Right.
You understand? And you're just a lowly Black person in America that now you have to celebrate the holidays we give you. So now you celebrate Christmas because we told you to. You celebrate and by the way, y'all got to understand that Christmas was given to you because what is ask yourself the question, if you still celebrate Christmas, what is the purpose of you taking a present, wrapping it up to disguise it, and then putting it under an evergreen tree? What's the reason for that? Why are you doing that? You don't even realize that was something that was given to you, which I can break down to you the evergreen tree. I could break down to you why it goes under that tree and you have to wait until the 25th to open it. I know why you do that. But you brothers and sisters that still celebrate Christmas don't even realize why you do it that way. Why you have these traditions. They was given to you by your slave master. Well, that's because they knew something that we didn't know, which is the Bible has the answers to everything. And for a slave master, they can utilize this Bible to enslave a people. But guess what? For the slave, you can utilize this Bible to free yourself and to get back to what the Most High had intended for you and to take your culture back. But you don't realize that because your slave master is stronger than you unless you utilize this Bible to understand what you must do to come back to your culture, right? So let's keep reading. Let's read verse 50.
Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
Mm-hmm. So now you had to celebrate their holidays. You had to do what they said. If you didn't eat the pork, which we about to read about, right? Because this is well documented in the Bible. The Bible is not a storybook. The Bible is something that has documented history. and we're about to read that. You would die if you didn't follow what the heathen told you to do. What those people told you to do, right? Keep reading.
In the self-same manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice, city by city.
And you had to do it. Now give me the book of 2 Maccabees, right? And let's understand something about the book of Maccabees by the way. We have to understand that it's a history book. You have to understand that when you go into the book of Maccabees, it's like opening up a history book and reading history. And it's like sitting in a class, which is why the way that we teach in the night at the Feast of Dedication is a little bit different, because you have to teach it like a history class. This ain't just a worship service. You understand? This is, let's understand why we're here tonight on a Wednesday night, which just so happens to be the night that everybody else is out there celebrating those holidays. We're here doing this. Why? Let's figure it out. Right? Let's get 2 Maccabees, the 6th chapter. Let's start at verse 8.
Verse 8.
2 Maccabees 6 and verse 8.
2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 8. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy,
which is one of those 5 generals that Alexander appointed before he died, right? He had rule over Alexander's stead, right? Keep going.
Against the Jews,
because they hated us, because we were the hardest to conquer. Why? Because we were so solid in what we believed. We believed we had to serve our God, and we was willing to die for it. I'm gonna show y'all that in just a minute. Not everybody had those types of same those same sentiments. They was not willing to die for the service of their God, but we was. Right? Keep reading.
That they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices.
Yeah, they made it like we had to do what they was doing. Like, for instance, today, you tell somebody I don't celebrate Christmas, they look at you like they crazy. I talked to about 5 different people in my slavery, and they was like, "What you doing for Christmas?" I don't celebrate. That's it. That's all I said. They looked at me like I had committed a mortal sin. They looked at me like, "You don't celebrate Christmas. What about your kids?" My kids don't care about Christmas. You see my kids right now, they don't care about Christmas. They don't care about that. I give my kids gifts throughout the year. I give them gifts for good grades. I give them gifts because I feel like it. I give them gifts whenever I tell them I want to. But they was like, "Damn, what about your kids?" I don't have nothing to tell them, because they don't understand the freedom of coming back to your culture. Coming back to your culture, your God tells you what to do, not the white man that enslaved you. He, like the white man that enslaved us, told us you get to give your kids gifts on their birthdays and on Christmas, because every other day you're gonna be too goddamn broke to give them anything. You're gonna be too goddamn. No way you're gonna be able to give them a PS5 in the middle of the year. You got to save that money up until December 25th. You understand? You can't give them nothing good, because they're going to oppress you so bad to where the only time you can give them something is on their birthday and on Christmas. But when you decide you're going to leave those customs and say, "I'm going to start to serve my God," the white man no longer has control over how you treat your family, how you reward your family. You know how many people have good children that get good grades, and when they get the good grades, the most they could do is take them out for a lunch at McDonald's. Well, look, because I don't have to spend all my money on birthdays and Christmas. When my kids get good grades, I can take them to buy PlayStation 5. And that's just in the middle of the year. Nobody's telling me to do that. Point being is, you take back your culture, you now take away the control that the white man, your oppressor, has taken over you, right? But let's keep reading, right? I want let's get through this. Let me get verse. Give me verse 9.
Verse 9, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death.
That's what they said. If you didn't do what they told you to do, you'd be put to death. So you had to stop keeping the law of the Most High. Now you have to start keeping Greek customs. That's why so many of my listen, I want y'all to understand something. I know that it's hard for everybody to put they self in them shoes. You never know how you're going to deal with a situation until you're in that situation. It's easy for all of us to say, them Greeks told me that I can't celebrate my Passover. I'd rather die. They just going to have to kill me. Oh, they tell me I got to celebrate their holidays. I'd rather die. They have to kill. You never know what you're going to do. And a lot of our brothers and sisters that was tempted like that, they was put in those positions where they was like, I would rather live and celebrate their holidays and leave my customs because I don't want to die. But we're about to read about some brothers and some sisters that they would rather die. They were so staunch in their belief that the Most High was real that there was nothing that a mortal man could tell them to take away that belief. And as we celebrate the Feast of Dedication, I want y'all to understand, y'all got to be like that too. Y'all got to be like the brothers and sisters that we're about to read about that was like, there's no man that's mortal that will be able to tell me I can't follow my God. You have to be so zealous to serve the Most High that there's nothing nobody could tell you to stop it. Y'all got to, and we're going to read about it in just a second. Let's, give me verse 10.
Verse 10, for there were two women brought who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babies hanging at their breasts, they cast them down headlong.
They did what?
They cast them down headlong from the wall.
This is what they did to a woman. To women that circumcised their babies on the 8th day. You know it's a law in the Bible, right? The first 5 books of the Bible is called the Torah, right? A Thawara, which is the instruction, which is the law that we must keep as a covenant to the Most High. Part of that covenant is you must circumcise your male child at 8 days. That's how you have to circumcise your child. The Greeks came in and said, we conquer y'all now. You don't circumcise your children no more. You don't keep the Sabbath. You don't do nothing according to that Torah. You do what we tell you to do now. There were some sisters that were so strong and staunch for serving the Most High. It was like, I don't care what this white man is telling me I can't do to serve my God. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, whether you threaten me with death or not. And they did it. And they was thrown headlong. Like you said, they cast them headlong down from at the top of the Golden Gate Bridge. Think about that. Down on the concrete. Threw them sisters down. And they knew they had it coming. But guess what? They didn't care about death. They didn't care about what some man could do to them. What does the Bible say? What did Christ himself say about death? It don't matter what a man could do to you. I care more about what the Most High would do to me if I decide to go against him. Because you could kill my body, but the Most High could destroy my soul. I don't care about what this man could do to me because I decided I was going to keep the Most High's laws. I'm going to do that. These are sisters we're talking about. We're not talking about strong men of the Lord. We're talking about sisters. The sisters that are soft and subtle. But guess what? That's what the Most High requires of you sisters too. Y'all got to be like that too. Y'all have to be strong in serving the Most High too. Shouldn't nobody be able to get you to waver? Shouldn't nobody be able to, oh, I'm the weaker vessel. That's what some sisters like to use that. I'm the weaker vessel. So, you know, sometimes I make mistakes. No, none of us got no room for mistakes. If I can't make mistakes, you can't neither. Yeah, you the weaker vessel, but you still got to be strong in the Lord. And these sisters were strong in the Lord. They knew that damn devil, that white man, was going to come after them for circumcising their babies. on the 8th day, just like the Most High prescribed them to. But guess what? They didn't care. They said, I'm going to do it. And if you decide to put me to death for this, you've put me to death wrongfully, but the Most High is going to see me as a righteous woman. That's what we have to focus on. Let's keep reading.
They cast him down headlong from the wall, verse 11, and others that had run together into the caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly.
To keep the Sabbath day, it had to be a secret. Now think about what keeping the Sabbath day entails. All it is just taking a rest from your work. But we couldn't even do that. Keeping the Sabbath day under Greek rule, which is what we're under now. We're under Greco-Roman rule right now. That's what we're under, right? It was hell to try to keep. Because guess what? I know Officer Matza can vouch for this too. You can't get a day off on Saturday. You understand? They're gonna work you to death. They don't care about no Sabbath. What are you talking about? Sabbath. The Sabbath. I gotta go to the Sabbath service. They don't care about that. If you were to tell your boss, I gotta go to the Sabbath service, I can't come to work on Saturday, they're gonna be like, I don't give a damn about your damn silly cosplay holiday. Come to work and make me rich. That's what they care about. Well, guess what? These brothers understood that about their oppressors, and they was like, look, I got to keep the Sabbath day secretly. I got to find a way to keep this Sabbath day. They was that serious about it. But this is what they did, though. They ended up being found out, right? And let's read what happened.
Being discovered to Philip were all burnt together.
And they was all burnt. They was put in the furnace for keeping the Sabbath. The Sabbath is also a part of Exodus 20th chapter. They was all burnt to death. Think about that for a second. The thing that we're doing right now, this is the same thing. Keeping the Feast of Dedication is just a holy day to the Most High. They was burnt for doing this, for coming together on the Most High's high holy day. Keep reading.
Because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
That's why they died. They died because they decided they was going to put the Most High's high holy day in front of anything else that this world had to offer. Think about it. You know how far you could get in life in America if you decided that you was going to put America's needs before the Most High. Working on Saturday, even at my the where I work at, it's you get paid extra just to work on the Sabbath. You get paid time and a half just to work on the Sabbath. That's how much they want you to forsake the God that you serve. What decision are you going to make? Are you going to make the decision to help build the empire that our oppressor is trying to build by coming in an extra day? Or are you going to make the decision, damn, maybe I should do my best to serve the Most High? That's the problem that a lot of us face. And for most of us, our oppressor don't even give us the option. For most of us, you got to come in on Saturday. You got to work on Saturday. Why? Because if you don't come in on Saturday, you're literally not going to be able to pay your bills. Because if you don't come in on Saturday, you literally won't be able to survive. You won't be able to put food on the table. That's the way that these people have made it for us in America. They made it for us like that. They've designed it like that for a reason. The same way you think it's just like happenstance. Like you think it's just like they, it's just a 6th day out of the week, just an extra day that they got you working. No, they doing that on purpose because of the same reason why the Greeks and the Romans at this time was coming to us telling us you can't celebrate the Sabbath day. You can't celebrate the feast days. You can't come to the altar and serve your God. That's the same thing. But the thing about it is they're doing it in such a crafty way now to where you, in your mind, in your heart of hearts, you believe, well, they're just trying to build their company. They just need me to come in for an extra day. Oh, I can't get this day off. Well, yeah, I'm pissed off about it, but I understand because they're just trying to build their company up. No, you can't get the Day of Atonement off because they hate the Day of Atonement and the fact that you want to serve your God. And if you go and serve the Most High on the Day of Atonement, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be less loyal to them and more loyal to your God. They can't have that. Let's keep reading.
Verse 12. Now I beseech those that read this book.
And this is part of this history book that we're reading. All right? Whoever authored this is telling you the history, and now they're giving you some wisdom. And this is the wisdom that we all got to walk away with this. Keep reading.
That they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that
now don't be discouraged for these calamities, because look, people died just to keep the law of the Most High. But don't let that discourage you. Don't let it like, damn, if I don't want to have to go through that. Because what we're about to read next, none of y'all want to go through. Y'all don't want to deal with that. Especially just to say you serve the Most High. A lot of y'all don't want to have to deal with that. Well, don't be discouraged in serving the Most High just because you understand that these are things that can happen. The book of Revelation, a lot of what we see in the future prophecies of the book of Revelation have not come to pass. There are some things that are going to happen to some of us that are for serving God. Oh my God. There are those that are going to be put to death just for serving the Most High. But don't let that discourage you. And that's what the author of the book of 2 Maccabees is trying to explain to you, right? Keep reading. But that
they judge those punishments, not to be for destruction, but for a chastising of our nation.
Okay, now you gotta understand what's being said here, because this is important. This is heavy. Understand why those things had to happen. Read that again, because that's important. Don't be discouraged because of these calamities. Don't be discouraged because you found out that because these brothers and sisters kept the law, that they was put to death for it. Don't make you feel like, damn, well, I don't want to go through that, so maybe I'll just do what the oppressor says this time. No, don't go through that. Read.
Now I beseech those that read this book that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction.
The punishments that we went through was not for our destruction. It wasn't to tear us down as a nation, but for what?
But for a chastening of our nation.
That's what it was. Read the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and find out that we go through the things that we go through as a nation because the Most High had to chasten us, because he gives a damn about us. He's a father that cares about correcting his children. If I let my children run around here and get away with everything, it's because I never want them to learn. If I let them go through life doing whatever they want to do, I know what they're doing is going to destroy them as they get older. They don't know it yet, but I know. If I don't say nothing about it, I'm a terrible father. Why? Because that must mean that I don't care about what happens to them when they get older. But guess what? If I'm a man that cares about my children, every little thing that I see them go through, I'm tapping them on the hand for it. I'm giving them that whooping for it. I'm giving them that strong talking to. Whatever way that you parent your children, understand that that's the point. The reason for the punishments is not because you just want your children to suffer, it's because you want them to learn. And that's what the Most High has put us through. We went through all of these things because the Lord said these brothers and sisters got to learn something. We got to go through something to understand why we're going through these things. And that's what's important. And so the author of the book of Maccabees is telling us, don't be discouraged. Like, don't look at this and be like, damn, if I serve God, I'm going to have to go through these terrible things. No, that's not the point of this. The point is to understand that, for one, these people went through these things. These brothers and sisters went through these things and they was willing to do it. But also, there was a reason why they had to go through these things. And we're going to understand it even more when we read the next passage that we're going to read. Give me 2 Maccabees 7, because this, normally when I teach the Feast of Dedication, I read this, the whole account. And I'm not going to be able to do it today because I want to get the history, more of the history. But this is, it's a gruesome story, but it also, it shows us how willing we was as a nation to serve our God and what we was willing to go through. which a lot of us, unfortunately, have been conditioned to. Like, I'd rather just sin against the Most High God to be comfortable than to serve the Most High and be uncomfortable and have to go through some terrible things and to have to go through the scrutiny. And that's part of, like, when you come into the truth, that's part of what you go through when you're in the truth. In the truth, you have to go through the scrutiny. There are many people that are going to say, why you got that thing on your head? Why you got this garment on? Why on your pants you got them fringes on the side of your pants? They're going to ask you all of those questions. They're going to say, well, why don't you celebrate Christmas? And you're odd for that. You weird for that. You have to go through that, and that's just your small suffering for serving the Most High. We about to read about something that it could be a whole lot worse. And these brothers were staunch about serving the Most High to where nobody could get them to stop. Give me 2 Maccabees 7:1.
2 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 1. It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine flesh.
To do what?
To taste swine flesh.
This is, y'all think that this is just, we just talking. But these people understood how important serving the Most High was. Christ himself said in the book of Matthew, the 5th chapter, he told us, he said that if you teach against the least of the law, you will become least in the kingdom of heaven, because there is I don't want to call it a ranking system, but there's laws that are least and great. Like a small law you would think is just like, don't eat pork. It's a law. You got to keep it. There's nothing you could do about it, but it's a lot easier to not eat pork than for somebody would say a lot less of a matter to not eat pork than to somebody that commits adultery or that commits a murder, right? That's like a greater or a weightier matter of the law, right? But what the problem is that, for instance, your Christian pastors today, they will tell you that you don't have to keep the law of not eating pork no more because it's one of those least laws. It's like, you ain't got to keep that law no more. You still can't murder nobody. You still can't commit adultery, but you don't have to keep that part of the law. Well, what we have to understand is that our forefathers, our ancestors, they kept the law the way it was meant to be kept. It wasn't nobody that could tell them, oh, this is the least part of the law. No, I will die not to eat pork the same way that I would die not to commit murder, or I would die not to fight in your wars, because they believed that serving the Most High was the same all across the board, because that's the type of God that we serve. Christianity has changed it. They made it like serving God is like, this is a God that's like your friend, like your buddy. And he understands when you make mistakes, and you could just do whatever you want to do and he'll forgive you. That's not the God of the Bible. These brothers understood one thing that we've lost in 2024, which is the Most High is an unchanging God, and he has given us instructions that we must follow. Stop being disrespectful to your father by disobeying his law. So the king came to these 7 brothers and their mother and said, y'all got to eat this piece of pork. One thing this king understood is that it didn't matter how great or low that law was, it was a law of our God. And we all knew that we couldn't do that. Keep reading.
And were tormented with scourges and whips.
And on top of that, he told us to taste this swine's flesh. But on top of that, he's tormenting us with scourges and whips, meaning we're getting tortured, saying, if you want this torture to stop, you want this pain and this suffering to stop, all you got to do is take a bite. Now think about how small that is to us. Think about it. You think something like that is just a small thing. I can stop my pain and my suffering just taking a bite of this meat. That's what it is in America, right? To us, it's not food, but to America, it's food. All you got to do is just take a bite of this food. And you can stop the suffering. You can stop the pain. But there was something special about these brothers that we all have to take back into ourselves, and we have to take this mindset on. We have to come back into, we not living in 2024 with America. We're living right here with these brothers in the year 100 BC, with these brothers fighting the same things that we're fighting today. We just don't see it. They're fighting the same oppressor that we're fighting today, but we don't acknowledge it. We don't realize. They pushing these things in your face every day, just like this king is, but you don't realize it. Keep reading.
But one of them that spake first said this.
And this is one of the brothers, right? Go ahead.
What wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die.
We are what?
We are ready to die.
He said, what would you ask? What are you doing this for? Because what? We are ready to what?
Die.
We are ready to die. This is how serious we take this. And see, this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. We have to get back to this. We got to get back to we willing to die to keep the law of the Most High, rather than to become subservient to you. Because now, guess what? Now I got to become a slave to you and what you want to do with me. Keep reading.
Rather than to transgress the law of our fathers.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 3. Then the king, being in a rage, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot, which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first.
Now this king was so upset because of what this brother said. This brother said, I'm not going to, you think it's something as small as poor. You calling that small, but to me, it's disobeying the law that the Most High has given me and my forefathers that not only I have had to keep for my entire life, but my forefathers for generations and generations have kept. You think I'm going to be the one to break it? You think I'm going to be the one to say, forget my laws, forget my statutes that are my culture? No. So guess what? You could do whatever you want to do. What do you think talking to me is going to do? You think you're going to get me to budge? Damn that. And this is the type of zeal that we got to have. We got to have a type of zeal like that. And he said, so when he said that, the king was like pissed off because he was thinking he would be able to get this man that most people desire to have. I got you in 1 second. Most people desire to have their life. That's what they care about more than anything. I'll tell you what. Most people, you back them into a corner and it's their integrity or their life, they're going to pick their life. They're going to throw their integrity away. They don't care because what does my integrity matter if I don't have my life? But in here, what does my life matter if I don't have my integrity? That's what we stand on in here. I got to have my goddamn integrity. It's all that matters to me. I could live the rest of my life because I gave up my integrity, but then what is left of my life? These brothers understood that. We stand on something here, and that's why we ain't no middle line. We not thinking like, oh well, I can put this to the side. I know I teach this every day. I know that this is what I claim to live, but if it comes down to it, if my life is in jeopardy, I'll put that to the side just so I can live a little bit longer. No, we're willing to die for this. And that's why we don't have no middle ground. That's why Christ said what he said. He said, if he would rather that you were cold than to be lukewarm, be in the middle, because guess what? The Lord wants you to be hot for this thing. You got to be willing to die. You got to be just like this brother. You got to be so strong and staunch for this truth. You got to be willing to die for keeping the law. But that also comes with the integrity that you claim to have. Mm-hmm. For some of us, it gets tested sooner than later. For some of us, it gets tested later than sooner. But guess what? Your integrity will be tested. The thing that you claim to believe, it'll get tested. And at that moment, you'll understand whether or not you really believe the thing that you said you believed in. These brothers was tested. All of them, all 7 of them, and their mother. And they passed the test. You understand? You have something to say?
What chapter and verse?
This is 2 Maccabees 7. And I think we're at, where we at?
Chapter 7, verse 3.
Okay, yeah, we're in chapter 7, verse 3. So yeah, we got to understand that, right? We have to understand something about serving this God that we serve. It puts us in a different level than everybody else because this is the problem. Like, most of us understand something. when it come time to serve the Most High, you have to stop being a servant to America. Most of us, I'm saying most of us as a people, not in the school. We've dropped that, but most of us as a people, as Black and Hispanic people, we've decided that we're going to be subservient to America, and it don't matter what God, because you can say you subservient to the Most High, but you're really subservient to the doctrine that America has delivered to you. You understand? And so what we have to do is come back to this. We have to say, ain't no matter what happens to me, I'm going to stand on my integrity. And I'm just letting y'all know it's harder than it looks. Talking about it feels good. Like having a conversation about it and teaching these classes and you listening to the class, it sounds so good and feels great to be able to say I was willing to stand on my integrity more than I was willing to try to gain my life back. But it's easier said than done. You have to understand what you're really getting yourself into when you say you want to serve the Most High. It's a little bit deeper than what you think just by talking about it, right? But let's keep reading, right? We got a little bit more to go over. We got about at least 30 more minutes to try to get all of this information in because we got a lot more history to go into. Let's keep reading.
All right. Verse.
Let's do verse 4.
Verse 4, which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first, and to cut off the utmost parts of his body, the rest of his brethren and his mother looking on.
Right, and this is like one of the, it's a nasty chapter in the Bible because we really talking about, this is a torture scene. It's like watching Saul. You understand? Because the king was trying to gain, this is what we was talking about earlier. The king was trying to gain power over the Israelites. But the only way he could do it is if he stopped them from serving their God. Because if we serve our God says, no matter what, you don't get to serve nobody else. The Most High Yahweh is the God. Ain't nothing you could do about it. Ain't nothing you could do to sidestep it. But because that's our strong belief, a king that comes over us, they have to stop us from believing like that. Because we can't serve a king and serve the Most High. Like Christ said himself, either you'll hate one and love the other, or you'll love one and hate the other. So this king was so pissed off about that and the fact that we was not willing to serve him, he decided he was going to maim us. So these 7 brothers had to go through all damn near the same thing. They was all, each individual finger, arm, leg, foot, all of that had to be cut off. Hey, baby, you got to go, okay? Go sit down, baby. But this is what we had to deal with. And they was willing to go through that. Why? Because they had integrity. And that's what you have to understand is that this is deeper than just sitting in these classes and learning and understanding these things. You have to apply. One thing that I always quote from a brother was, you can know everything there is to know about the Bible. Like you can quote it, you can know all the precepts, you can know all the breakdowns. But if you can't apply this Bible to your life, then it means nothing. And that's what's important. You could spend all your time learning the breakdowns, learning the precepts, all of those things. But if you can't apply the Bible to your life, then everything that you've learned means nothing. And that's what we have to focus on. And that's why stories like this are important, because this is history. Going back and understanding these things reaffirms our faith, right? Let's keep reading.
Now, when he was this maimed in all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire and to be fried in the pan. And
so now this brother was the first one. He got a damn near, I think, worse than anybody else. It's a whole chapter. If you read this chapter, you'll read everybody's demise. But he got it bad, man. They cut off all of his members, which means it starts off with your fingers, and then your wrists, and then at your elbow, and then at your arm. That's your shoulder, and then the same thing with your legs. Bad. That's a terrible way to go. And it was documented like that though, because after all of that, he said, now they had these big they used to use for events back in the times of the Greeks. They had these big cauldrons. A lot of people, if you've seen like a witch movie or something like that, you might be able to like remember in your mind what a cauldron looks like. It's like a big pot damn near that a human can fit in. They put this brother inside of that cauldron and burned him alive.
It's like
Go ahead.
And he was alive too.
Yeah.
All his members off. That's crazy.
Yeah. He had to go through. I mean, and that's extreme suffering. You would hope at that point it'd be like you would hope that you could die. You understand? So that way you don't have to experience this and then you have to go through this. But regardless, he had to go through all of that and then be burned alive. He had to suffer. But you know what he never did? And this is what we all got to take away from this specific story.
Yeah.
You know what he never did? He never said, damn, why ain't the Lord helping me? He ain't never say, well, where's the Lord at? He understood what he was doing, and he understood the consequences of serving God. He ain't bothered with none of that. Let's keep reading.
He commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire and to be fried in the pan.
Mm-hmm.
And as the vapor of the pan was for a good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully.
To die what?
Manfully.
To die manfully, right? This is one thing that always sticks out to me from this story. This isn't just one man being put to death and, he's alone and it's just a sad story. There are 6 other of his brothers, people that he grew up with. And this brother was young. But there are 6 other of his brothers that are looking and seeing these things happen. And not only that, but his mother, which this goes to show y'all sisters, y'all got to be strong too. Y'all got to be just as strong as this sister, because this sister never said, well, baby, just eat the pork. That motherhood instinct ain't never come in.
Yeah.
Because she ain't never say, well, whatever it takes to keep my child alive. Okay, all he wants you to do is eat the pork. Baby, eat the pork.
Right.
No. She cared more about serving the Most High than keeping her child alive. Because guess what? Keeping her child alive in exchange for serving the Most High would mean that her child would just die anyway. This was a smart woman. She understood it. She understood what was going on and why it was happening. And so now all of these brothers are looking on, and his mother are looking on and seeing all of these things happen. And they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully. They said, look, hey, and this is, y'all got to understand it. They came to a conclusion. They said, Akim, we all dying tonight. That's what's happening. They came to the conclusion. They said, we ain't getting out of this. We all dying tonight. Because we know we all dying tonight, we're going to have to do this manfully. We're not going to scream and yell and cry for our lives. This is our demise. This is it. We're going to stand on what we've said we were standing on for our entire lives. We grew up keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. We've taught other brothers and sisters to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. We're not going to go out like no punks. We're going to die manfully. This is it. That's the spirit. That's the spirit of the Most High. The spirit of the Most High is to stand on what you stand on. If you say this is what you about, then live it and be about it. You understand? This is what our brothers and sisters had to go through. You now think about your day-to-day struggle and what you got to go through every day. A lot of times it might feel like what these brothers and sisters had to go through. I understand it. And I wouldn't blame you for comparing the two. But you better handle it like these brothers and sisters handle it. Handle it the same way. Because they had to go through it. Here you are 2,000 years later and you're going through something. You got to deal with it the same way. You got to maintain your integrity. That's what these brothers and sisters, they agreed upon it. They said, we got to die manfully. This is what it is. I always keep this sentiment. I always, when stuff happens, I say it is what it is. Some people in the world, they use that the wrong way. They're like, it is what it is. Ain't nothing I can do about it and all of that. That's not what I'm talking about, because you can always change your situation. But when I say it is what it is, this is the situation that you got to deal with. When they made the decision to die manfully, they understood. Akim, once again, we dying tonight. This is how we're going to go about it. Well, in the situations that you live with day to day, you're going to have to operate the same way. You have to maintain your integrity, and you're going to say, this is what it is. I'm going to operate the way that the Most High told me that I have to operate. And I'm not going to change the way that I handle this situation because of my emotions. You understand? And so that's I want to keep going because we got a little bit more to go over. I ain't going to hold y'all for too much longer. Give me First Maccabees, the 2nd chapter and the 1st verse. All right. So now that just goes over that goes over a lot of what we had to deal with. The Greeks came in and they made us deal with all of that. Y'all understand? Like we had to. It's a lot. Like for instance, right now it's tough for us to be able to so-called worship with each other, right? Because they look at us as ridiculous for coming out and trying to worship the Most High, trying to keep the laws. They don't like the way that we teach the Bible, this, that, and the third. So we get ridiculed a lot for that. But at this time, it was like if you tried to even open up a Bible, you're getting put to death. You understand? And so we have to understand that that's how serious it was. And so for the last 30 minutes of this class, I'm going to read about for the zeal that our forefathers had to say, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not going to live in a world. I'd rather be dead than live in a world that's controlled and operated by my oppressors. Okay, so let's read that. First Maccabees 2:1. It's gonna be a lot of reading, so we'll just read it as quick as possible.
First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1. Verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jored, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 5 sons: Jonan, called Cadus, Simeon, called Thesai.
Mm-hmm. And these are all of Mattathias' sons. It's just talking about one brother, right? And this brother is important because he's going to be the one to spark this revolution, right? Give me verse 6.
Verse 6. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, woe is me.
Mm-hmm.
Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city,
Mm-hmm.
and to dwell there when it was delivered into the hand of the enemies, in the sanctuary into the hand of strangers.
So now remember, because these Grecians came and took over Jerusalem, they were sacrificing swine's flesh. They was coming into our temples and having sex parties in our temples, a holy place. Think about that. Think about how angry that must have made the Most High. But a man that's after the Most High's heart would look at that and be just as angry. You understand? Because they profaned our temple. And so now Mattathias is saying, woe is me, meaning destroyed is me. I'm destroyed. Why? Because he said, wherefore was I born? Why was I born to be able to see my city, the city that I love so much, my family and my culture be desecrated by these heathens? He said, I'd rather not be alive than to be able to see this. Right? Keep reading.
Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity.
Mm-hmm.
Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy. What?
Yeah. And so now he's explaining that he's understanding the magnitude of this situation. It's not as simple as, oh yeah, no, they're just coming into our temple and messing everything up, right? We are now become captive unto them. It's not that simple. It's different than just we are now captive under them. No, they are now trying to disrespect my God. And this brother was zealous to serve his God. He wasn't going to let nobody disrespect his God. And this is what I mean by that. Let's drop down real quick, right? Give me verse 19.
Verse 19. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away everyone from religion of their fathers.
So everybody else was willing to fall away from the religion of their fathers because they had a fear of this king. Remember, Alexander the Great, if you learned anything about him in your time in school, even just in the book of Maccabees, it talked about the fact that he basically ruled the known world. Okay, that's important to understand. That's why I gave you a little bit of that history, because he was a ruler that was exceedingly powerful. Okay, so everybody they were bowing to him. But then when he died, remember his power got split up those 5 ways, but the same sentiment continued to exist. They was all scared of Seleucid. They was all scared of Ptolemy. They was all scared of him. Why? Because they maintained that same power that Alexander had. So because that's the case, everybody was willing, like, I'll give up my religion. Because when they came into power, they said, you can't have your own religion. You got to follow what I believe, because if you don't, then there'll be a separation and you won't follow me. And so because that's the case, they made that declaration and they was like, yeah, we'll give up our religion. We don't care. Mattathias, though, was like, I ain't with that. I'm not going to give up my religion. And what he did is what we do in the ISUPK. We seek out like-minded brothers. We seek out, because everybody else is willing to be Christians. Everybody else is willing to accept the ideologies of their slave master, but we not willing to be like that. But we also not willing to be alone. We want to find like-minded brothers and sisters that are willing to say the same thing that we say. And that's what Mattathias is doing. He's making his own declaration. Alexander made his declaration, and now he's making his own, right? Keep going.
And give consent to his commandments. Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
What's that sound like? That sound like what Joshua said, right? He said, remember, Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Mattathias said the same goddamn thing. He said, look, I understand everybody else is scared of this goddamn king. I'm not. Me and my family, we're going to serve the Most High. We're going to continue to walk in our commandments that the Most High has delivered unto us, because we care about the covenant that we are a part of. We are part of this contract. We signed it. We're going to hold it up. We care about that. We have integrity. And that's what Mattathias was saying, right? Keep reading.
God forbid that we should forsake the law in the ordinances.
And he said, God forbid that we would forsake the law and our ordinances, because this is our culture. How dare we allow some white man to come in our neighborhood and say, this is now your new religion? We're not having that. And Mattathias had that same sentiment, right? Let's keep reading. Let's drop down real quick, because I know we kind of stressed the time. Let's go to 27. Verse 27.
Verse 27. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
Whosoever is zealous of the Most High's laws and want to maintain them, follow me. That's the declaration that he made. He said, look, I want to fight against this oppression. I don't want to just lay down and deal with it. But he did it for a righteous reason. And we're going to read about that. Keep reading.
So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they and their children and their wives and their cattle.
So he went with everybody, right? Let's drop down to verse 49.
Verse 49. Now, when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength. And in the time of destruction, in the wrath of indignation, now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law.
So Mattathias is going away. He's dying, right? And he was the one that sparked this revolution. He was the one that said, I see these Grecians coming into my town, to my Jerusalem, my holy land, and trying to take it over and implement their own laws and say we can't serve God anymore, he was the one that sparked the revolution to say, I'm not dealing with that. And he kept his sons in that same tradition. But now he's getting ready to die. He's getting ready to lay it down. But he understands that he has sons that are warriors just like him, that he raised up to be just like him. And so he's telling them, hey, listen, I want y'all to understand something. I'm about to die, but I want y'all to remember what we fighting for. Keep reading.
And give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
And give your lives. Have that same, what we was just talking about with the examples that we set out, right? Give your lives for the covenant of the Most High and of the covenant of your fathers. We are the ones that agreed to this covenant, right? We signed this contract with the Most High. That's us.
Right.
Our forefather is Abraham. Our forefather is Jacob. Our forefather is Isaac and Noah. And all of our forefathers that designed what we have right now, that's our forefathers. They signed the contract with the Most High when the Most High said he was going to protect us and make us rulers over this land or rulers over this kingdom. And all we had to do was keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. We the ones signed that contract. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 51, call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor in everlasting name.
Drop down to verse 66.
Verse 66. As for Judas Maccabeus, he hath been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him.
This is Judas Maccabeus is one of Mattathias' sons, right? And really a son after his own heart because he was exactly like his father, right? He damn near down to the T. He was as zealous as his father was to keep this law and to fight against these Grecians. Keep going.
He had been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people.
So he plays that son. He plays that son, Judas Maccabeus, as the chief leader. Like he made him the chief leader over the rest of his sons. Right? Keep reading.
Take also into you all those that observe the law, and avenge ye the wrong of your people.
And just so you understand, they created an army. Like it wasn't just Mattathias and his sons. They actually created the rest of the people that are the rest of the brothers within Jerusalem that was like, I'm not standing for this. They was like, okay, we'll come deal with us then, and we're gonna fight it off. And so they had a host. They had hundreds of brothers that ended up dealing with them and being within their army, right? So go to First Maccabees, Baba Kashab, just to continue on in this story. First Maccabees, the 3rd chapter.
Verse 1.
Yeah. Okay.
First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 1. Then his sons Judas called Maccabeus rose up in his stead.
So this is after, and that's why we kind of going back and forth between First and Second Maccabees because it's not in chronological order. So so you kind of gotta be able to navigate it. So that's why this class is important, right? But so this is after Mattathias' death, and he put Judas in charge of all of his other sons and the rest of the host of the army that they was raising up, right? So now, so Judas called Maccabeus rose up in Mattathias' stead, verse 2.
And all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father. And they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel.
And they fought, and this another thing too. They fought with cheerfulness. A lot of y'all, sometimes y'all don't even want to come to the school and clean up. You ain't even cheerful to come clean up at the school and just help out a little bit. These brothers was cheerful to go damn near die with damn near the expectation of dying. They was willing to come to battle and put their lives at risk, but they was cheerful for it. Why? Because they actually believed in the Most High God. And they said, look, I'm going to put my life at risk to serve the Lord. And no matter whatever happens, at least I know that whatever happens, I was serving the Most High God. They was cheerful for it. Y'all better get this mindset in everything you do. Be cheerful that you even have the opportunity to serve the Most High, because guess what? You could have been born I was going to say something else, but you could have been born a goddamn Edomite. You could have been born without the opportunity to serve God.
Right.
Because an Edomite can't even serve the Most High. You was born an Israelite. You was, my God, what luck have you had? So you better be goddamn cheerful that you have this opportunity to serve the Most High. But let's keep reading.
So he got his people great honor.
And so Judas got his people great honor. Why? Because he fought. And that's why we honor the brother today, right? Keep going.
And put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him. And he made battles, protecting the host with his sword. In his axe he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp, roaring for his prey.
And that's just to understand what type of brother you was dealing with. Judas Maccabeus wasn't no joke. He wasn't no, he wasn't no cat from around the way. He was that guy. When you walk up and you saw him, he was somebody you didn't want to deal with. And this is a description of his stature. Why? The Lord was with him. You understand? Let's drop down, right? Let's read verse 8. This is just a little bit more history, and then we're going to close out because I'm going to give y'all the understanding of all of this matters in the storyline of what we're talking about, okay? When we talk about dealing with the Feast of Dedication, we have to understand this, but it's coming up shortly. We're going to understand why we celebrate the Feast of Dedication. Let's read verse, let's start. No, we can read verse 8.
Verse 8, moreover, he went through the city of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them.
So the city of Judah is Jerusalem, and he had to go into Jerusalem to destroy the ungodly out of them. Why? Because the Grecians came into Jerusalem and was profaning the temple, right? And they had military fronts in Jerusalem, right? Like going into Jerusalem, you couldn't get in there without facing a military front with swords and armor and everything, right? But he went in there and destroyed them, right? Keep going.
And turning away wrath from Israel, so that he was renowned into the utmost part of the earth.
He was renowned.
He was renowned into the utmost part of the earth, and he received into him such as were ready to perish.
So this is like an overview, right? Because he went and he did this this is over years of time. The time period isn't just a couple of days. He's doing this for years, fighting against these Grecians that came and tried to take his home from him, tried to take his culture from him. So Judas Maccabeus, he ended up, he went on to overthrow the Greeks and the Seleucid dynasty. He did that, him and his army. They overthrew one of Alexander the Great's generals, which is how we ended up getting halfway Jerusalem back for a time. And then his brother Simon, we read about that too in the second Maccabees. His brother Simon had started the Hasmonean dynasty, which is where you get your Sadducees and Pharisees from, right? Which is, that's a lesson for another day, but that's all this history that we're reading about coming up in just the book of First and Second Maccabees. But let's go to the fourth chapter of First Maccabees, so we can understand, because now we're about to get to understanding where the Feast of Dedication comes from. Because remember, they took our temple. Like, imagine this here today. This is our temple. This is the place that we come to worship. We come in here to have our high holy days. We come in here and learn about serving the Most High. Brothers get oil and sisters get oil poured on their head to be anointed by the Most High here. This is our temple. Well, they came in here and said, I'm going to take a big pig, set it on fire, and offer it up to God here. They came here and had sex parties in this place. That's the type of things that they was doing to profane the Lord's temple. So Judas Maccabeus went and got it back. So it was a bunch of Grecians in here, and he came to the front door with swords drawn, and he said, this is mine because it belongs to my God and my culture, and I'm taking it back. And he did that. But let's keep reading about it. We almost done. Give me First Maccabees 4 and 41.
First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 41. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. Verse 42. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when they And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down.
So Judas went and he talked to the brothers that was working inside of these temples, because remember, when you go into the Levitical priesthood, you find that the priests were working in the temple, like that was their job. They couldn't go and be farmers or anything else because they was consistently inside of the temple. And so these priests that was working inside of the temple, he asked them the question, how should we deal with this, right? Y'all the priests, how should we deal with the fact that these people, these Edomites have been in our temple profaning it, right? Sacrificing swine's flesh on our altars and everything, and making this place not the house of the Lord no more, but not a house of devils. He asked him, what should we do about that? And so what the priest was like, they said, look, we should really just pull this down and rebuild it, right? Keep reading.
Least it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen have defiled it.
Mm-hmm.
Wherefore they have pulled it down.
So they pulled down the temple. They pulled down the altar. They pulled down the temple, right? Destroyed it, right? Keep going.
And laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a covenant place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them.
Mm-hmm. So now read verse 47. Keep reading.
Then they took whole stones according to the law.
According to the law, this is important, because according to the law, there's a way that you got to build up the temple. There's guidelines. It's a blueprint in the so-called Old Testament, right? In the Torah, it tells you exactly how to put the temple together, right? Go ahead.
And built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels.
So now this is what they're doing at this point. They rededicating the temple. Now, Judas Maccabeus, like I said, he went on to overthrow the Seleucid Empire. At least not the empire itself, but at least their invasion into Jerusalem, he was able to overthrow them. And so he got them the hell up out of there. So now Jerusalem belongs back to the Jews. You understand? And so because that's the case, now it's time to get back to business. Remember, what are we doing this for in the first place anyway? We trying to make our holy land holy again. So part of that means you have to go back into that temple, which is the most holy. They call it the Holy of Holies, according to the Bible. Go back in there, and you have to now make that back to what it was, which is the temple of the Most High, they call it where the Most High dwells, right? And so now they go back once again, according to the law. They built a new altar, right? The same way that they built the former one. They made new holy vessels, and they brought a new candlestick, which is these right here. What you see, these this menorah or menorah in the Hebrew is something that was holy. It was part of the Sabbath service equipment. It was a part of the temple, and they had to make a new one because they, of course, the heathen, when they came in, they took that and did all manner of disgustingness with it. They threw that away and they said, "I'm not dealing with that. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna rebuild what we had before, and it's gonna be clean of filthy heathen hands." We're gonna keep reading Salakia. Read verse 53.
Verse 53 and
Salakia, verse 52. Salakia.
Verse 52. Now on the 5th and 20th day of the 9th month, which is called the month of Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings, which they had made. Mm-hmm. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and citharns and harps and cymbals.
And so they made a big deal out of it, right? Because the heathen had came and made this place dedicated to idols. They had made this place dedicated to what we would say today, like a white Jesus, like a Caesar Borgia. They made it dedicated to Allah. They made it dedicated to another God. They made it dedicated to themselves. We came back and we rededicated it to the Most High. You had something, sir?
Santa Claus.
Khan, they dedicated it to Santa Claus. That's why you go into every church today. Guess what they was teaching? Christmas. They got that evergreen tree in there with decked with silver and gold, just like Jeremiah the 10th chapter tells us not to do. Right? They dedicated it to those other gods. We had to come behind and rededicate our temple back to the Most High. Go ahead.
I could start to point out was also crazy about this verse right there, 52. Castle is what we call December now.
Yeah.
So on that day, December 20, Castle 25th, and today, December 25th, when they did all the dedications. Meaning that they've been celebrating this thing for a long time.
Yeah.
It's all a heathen holiday.
Right. Yeah, and that's what's important about being in these classes and understanding these things, because like you said, they have continued to do the thing that we're fighting today. We've been fighting it for 3,000 years. You understand? And this was only 2,000 years ago. This is right before Christ came on the scene. We was fighting it then, and we still fighting it today. And so, but the point once again is that we have to come back into this thing and rededicate the thing that the heathen has profaned. They've profaned the temple. They have made serving God to be some sort of entertainment business. That's why Creflo Dollar and TD Jakes, they whole thing is about putting on the show. We got to rededicate the service to the Most High to what it's actually about, which is truly serving the Most High in truth, right? Let's keep reading. We're going to finish out.
Verse 55.
Let's get verse 56.
Verse 56. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days.
That's why this is an 8-day feast. It's not over, Akim. It's not over. This is an 8-day feast. All right. The Feast of Dedication is an 8-day feast. So we started today. Yes, this is the first night, but you're supposed to have a rededication and a party for 8 days straight. You understand? That's what the Feast of Dedication is. And so for 8 days straight, it said that they offered that burnt offering with gladness, meaning they was happy. It wasn't a burden to them. They was happy to get their temple back. That's why a lot of us sometimes we take this thing for granted. We got a place to worship the Most High. Look at this place. Look at this place that we've built in the name of the Most High. We have this to come here whenever we want to serve the Most High. This is at our own expense. The Most High has delivered this to us. Let's do it in gladness. Let's be here in gladness. This isn't a burden to have to come and teach these classes or to have to come and watch these classes. It's not a burden to come here on a feast day. This is something that the Most High has blessed us with. And that's why these things are so important, to hold up these traditions. Hold up a tradition like Feast of Dedication, because look at what we did, man. I mean, just even just coming in and repainting some of the walls, we got to do stuff like that with gladness, because all of this is only for the Most High's glory. This ain't for us. You understand? Nobody's name is on the bottom corner of this wall like a painting, and it's like they get the credit for painting this wall. But what we do get is the fact that this school looks a little bit more glorious, and the Most High is going to be brought to honor because of our work. That's it. And that's all we do. The only reason why we do what we do anyway is just to bring the Most High's name to honor. That's it. We don't do this for ourselves. You understand? We don't do this so that way we don't do this so that way I can be recognized. A lot of people that hear me teach don't even know what my name is. You understand? Because it's not about me. It's about glorifying the name of the Most High. And so let's keep reading. We almost done, y'all. I know. Give us about 15, 20 more minutes, and then we'll be up out of here. Let's keep reading. That's where we get it from, right? That's where we get those 8 days celebration, right? The rededication of the temple. Matter of fact, read verse 59.
Verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season, from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 5th and 20th day of the month of
Caslow.
Caslow,
Mhm.
with mirth and gladness.
All right, so now this is an ordinance. Now, what we have to understand about this, right? When you go into Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, it talks about the high holy days of the Most High. So that's where you get your Passover, your Day of Atonement, your Feast of First Fruits, all of those things, right? There's 7 high holy days, which you find in the Feast of, the 23rd chapter of Leviticus. Those are high holy days that must be kept. Those are ordained by God. This is a holy day that wasn't ordained by God specifically. This is a tradition that we keep. Right? This isn't a law, but we keep it by tradition because of what, of course, our forefathers had to go through. We commemorate them by going through, by celebrating these days, but then also by understanding what they had to go through on these days, and then also applying it to our life. And that's what's going to be. We'll close out with that. We have to somehow apply this lesson that originated 2,000 years ago, 2100, about 2145 years ago. We have to somehow apply this to our lives. So give me, if you could pull for me the book of Matthew, right, real quick. Because we have to somehow, like I said, apply this to our lives. Let's see something. Give me 1 Corinthians. We give 1 Corinthians the 3rd chapter.
The 3rd chapter?
Mm-hmm.
Verse?
Yeah, 16.
1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16.
And just so we understand why we're reading this, right? Remember, the Feast of Dedication is about rededicating the temple. We went in after those heathens had profaned our temple, the place that we came to serve the Most High. They made it disgusting. They made it filthy. They made it a place that the Lord saw unfit to dwell. And we had to come back in and we had to rededicate it. So what do we have to do? We had to make it more glorious. We had to take away all of the things that the heathens instituted and brought in there. We had to get rid of those things. And we had to fill it back up with the things that the Most High told us to have inside of that temple. But now, after Christ, we have to understand something. The way that Christ taught, we the temple of the Most High. Inside of the New Testament, it tells us that the Most High don't dwell inside of buildings. So now, we the temple. Let's read this. 1 Corinthians 3 and 16.
3 and 16. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God?
This is what Paul is saying. Paul is saying, know ye not that you're the temple of God? This is a question that you got to ask yourself. Don't you realize that you're the temple? Keep reading.
And that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you?
Don't you know that you are the temple of the Most High and the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? The Most High doesn't dwell in buildings. You understand? The scriptures tell us that the Most High dwells in you. How are you going to rededicate yourself? How are you going to see what this world has done to you? This world has profaned you. This world has made you a terrible person. A lot of us have grown up. I look at some of these young brothers, young sisters, and I'm like, damn, they're so blessed to be taught these things from a youth, and to get this wisdom, to be able to be taught how to operate in their day-to-day life, things that we didn't get when we was younger. And it's not because it was our parents' fault. It was because they didn't know better neither, because nobody was able to teach them. But now, all of us have grown up defiled. The same way the Greeks came into the temple and ransacked it and made all types of disgusting things happen in there and profaned it, them same people 2,000 years later, came into our lives and made us disgusting, caused all types of abominations to happen in our lives. The things that a lot of us saw growing up, we shouldn't have had to deal with that. That was the doing of our oppressor. The things that we saw, the things that even we, the things that we see on TV that they push in front of our faces. The things that they did to our families and broke our families up and made our uncles be the way that they was, made our mothers and fathers be the way that they was, made our family members be the way that they was, pushed drugs into our community, made them act the way that they was acting. They pushed those things on us and profaned us. But here we are in the truth as the temples of God. Now we got to find a way to rededicate ourselves. Now we got to actually understand we have been profaned. That's the first. Everybody know that. The first step in understanding that you have a problem is admitting that you have a problem. Well, we have to admit we have been profaned. Now, what are we going to do about it? The Feast of Dedication should show you that no matter what happens to this temple, there's always a way back. And that's the spirit of Christ. The spirit of Jesus Christ is the fact that you might have been all manner of wicked. You could have done the most profane things that are unspeakable, the things that you can't even read in this Bible, things that you can't even forgive yourself for. You can rededicate yourself and Jesus Christ will forgive you. And you will be just as glorious as that temple was when the Most High said, "This is the temple that I want to dwell in." You can be just that glorious. But you're going to have to apply what we've been talking about for the past 2 hours. And what we always teach, you're going to have to apply that to your life. And if you could do that, you'll be able to survive, man. The Most High will look at you with a brand new set of eyes. He won't even remember you for the thing that you can't forgive yourself for. He won't even remember that thing. And that's what this feast day, you got to understand that that's what this thing is about. You understand? We can rededicate this school. We can paint it the new colors. We can put new things in here and make everything look beautiful and sweep and mop and make it look nice. But because we understand that we are the temple of the Most High, it don't mean nothing if we don't rededicate ourselves. So as we had this good food tonight and, enjoy the brotherhood and the sisterhood, just understand that that's what this thing is about. Remember that you got to make sure that you are giving your best to the Most High and looking at this season and saying, look, I got to make sure that I rededicate myself to the service of the Lord and question myself and see whether or not I'm doing the best that I possibly can, because that's the spirit that Judas Maccabeus had. Judas Maccabeus had the spirit of, I got to make sure that even if unto death, I have to make sure that I'm giving my best service to the Most High. So we'll go ahead and close out with that. I do want to close out with some prayer. One prayer. Anybody got anything they want to add or any questions, anything like that? All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to close out with the Lord's Prayer. All right. Imagine, which means to stand. Fayah, which means to turn to face the east. We're going to close out with the Lord's Prayer. All right, we're going to begin with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanaw, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamaya, Nathanawa, Lacham, Kal Yawam, Wasalakanawa, Kal Watnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kal Wathinawa, Wala'a, Thabaya Nawa, Banasai 1, Abba, Hawashai Nawa, Mayan, Raikaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watha Para, Lai Walamyam, Amen.
What we said in the English is, Our Father,
Our Father,
which art in heaven,
which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom
Thy
come.
will be done
Thy will be done
in earth
in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this day
our daily bread,
our daily bread,
and forgive us for our debts
and forgive us our debts
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not
And lead us not
into temptation,
into temptation,
but deliver us
but deliver us
from evil.
from evil.
For thine is the
For
kingdom,
thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
So be it.
So be it. Yajimata. All right, we're gonna go ahead and close out. Sisters, you could be seated. Brothers, we're gonna close out with a courtesy salute to one another for the brothers. Men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat. Amajim Barak. Yahweh Hashem Yahweh. Sorry towards the sisters. Sisters, you can stand. Amajim. We're gonna get the sisters a courtesy salute. All right, men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat. Amajim Barak. Yahweh Shamar Allah Bashim Yahushai. Yajim Matah, dismissed. The water, y'all.